Turn your mind toward the past and see if you can solve these ancient archaeological mysteries. Some of the world's greatest minds have struggled to comprehend the things you're about to see in this video, but let's see if we can get to the bottom of them together, starting right now. Excavations at Pompeii began in 1738 and are still ongoing today. It seems we'll never run out of fascinating things to find there. The most recent high-profile discovery is this ceremonial chariot, which turned up at the site of a villa on the outskirts of the ancient site. The carriage is so well preserved that its original satyr, nymph, and cupid decorations are still clearly visible. Like everything else at Pompeii, the chariot has effectively been frozen in time since the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in the year 79. Whoever rode in this chariot traveled in comfort and style. They had armrests and backrests in their seat atop 4 iron wheels. Chariots have been found in Pompeii before, but it's rare to find one that's so beautiful and so completely intact. The surrounding walls and ceilings collapsed as a result of the destruction caused by the volcano, but the chariot remained standing. The elaborate nature of the vehicle means it's unlikely to have been used for day-to-day transportation. It's far more likely that it was used for special occasions like weddings and festivals. Next up, we're checking out this spider mural in northern Peru. It's around 3,200 years old, but archaeologists didn't know it was there until January 2021. The style of art and the reverence given to the spider has led experts to believe that it might have been worshipped as a god. Even with that in mind, it's hard to imagine why the spider god of these ancient Peruvian people would need to carry a knife. But there's one in the mural. The most likely candidates for the creation of the mural are the Cupincinque people, who are known to have lived in this region at the time. We think they associated spiders with rain, although there's some suggestion that they might also have associated them with fertility. The mural isn't far from a river, which would likely have been a vital source of water to the people, so it makes sense to worship a water god close to the river in the hope that the friendly spider will make sure the river never runs dry. There's some archaeological evidence that an ancient temple once stood here too, but it was likely knocked down by farmers several centuries ago. We're heading over to Bulgaria now to check out a 3,000-year-old duck. This delightful pottery vessel was found in a Bronze Age grave not far from the town of Bailey in 2020. Appropriately enough, the artifact is believed to be a relic of the encrusted pottery culture. The Bronze Age civilization, which is known for little else other than its people's skill with ceramics, lived in and around the lower Danube thousands of years ago. Although almost every civilization in the ancient world made ceramics, theirs are especially elaborate and extensively decorated. Although the bird vessel was found inside a grave, it doesn't hold any human remains. Instead, it was placed inside a funeral urn alongside the cremated remains of the tomb's occupant. The symbolic meaning of the placement of the bird inside the urn is, regrettably, unknown. It's possible that there were once a few trinkets of the deceased, a few locks of their hair perhaps, inside the duck, but there's been no evidence to support that idea discovered so far. Perhaps we should simply enjoy it as a beautiful decorative object. In the heart of Cambridgeshire, England, a stupendous discovery was made at Must Farm. 6 Bronze Age boats and an intact prehistoric riverside. This finding offers a unique snapshot of life during a time when the environment was undergoing significant change. The boats weren't lost to accidents. They were intentionally scuttled, with their backplates removed, allowing the waters of the River Nene to flood in. These boats were sunk individually over 6 centuries, from 1300 to 700 BCE, amid the traps and weirs of a well-managed watercourse. The backdrop to this discovery is the environmental transformation that took place around the dawn of the Bronze Age. An environmental catastrophe saw vast plains in southeastern England gradually inundated by rising waters, giving birth to the fens. As the landscape changed, so did the way of life. Before the Middle Bronze Age, The archaeology of the region was similar to other prehistoric societies in southern England. But after 1500 BCE, as the fens developed, unique features began to emerge, like the famous Flag Fen causeways. The ongoing excavations at Must Farm are shedding light on how a changing environment shaped a new world, with humans adapting and thriving during these changes. The ancient Egyptians may not have fully understood where meteorites came from, but they knew they were important and somehow different from the other rocks and stones they came across. That's why they used them to craft jewelry. While the most notable example of jewelry made from meteorites can be found in items taken from the tomb of Tutankhamun, there are other examples. One of them is a set of iron beads that were found inside a 5,000-year-old tomb in Gerza Cemetery in 1911. The beads found inside that tomb were considered special long before scientists identified the meteorite connection because they represent the first known use of iron in Egypt, more than 2,000 years before the beginning of the Egyptian Iron Age. The metal in the beads was initially incorrectly identified as common nickel of the kind that occurs on Earth, but more recent analysis has confirmed they're too high in nickel content to have earthly origins. They have Widmanstätten patterns, which is a distinctive kind of crystal structure that's found only inside meteorites and asteroids. The fact that the Egyptians chose to include the beads in burials suggests that they recognized their importance somehow. We just don't know how. In the town of Edfu, southern Egypt, a remarkable archaeological find has been made. A step pyramid believed to be 4,600 years old. Unlike the more famous pyramids, this one doesn't have internal chambers and wasn't meant for burial, leaving its true purpose shrouded in mystery. The pyramid was previously known but had never been excavated. Hidden beneath layers of sand and modern waste, it was constructed using sandstone blocks and clay mortar from a nearby quarry. This pyramid is one of 7 Provincial pyramids found across central and southern Egypt. They're situated near major settlements and share strikingly similar dimensions. Originally standing at a height of around 43 feet, the ravages of time and stone pillaging have reduced it to approximately 16.5 feet. Some Egyptologists theorize that these structures symbolized the king's power in the southern provinces. Food offering sites found nearby support this theory. The pyramid might have been constructed during the reigns of either Pharaoh Huni or Snefru, potentially predating the Great Pyramid of Giza. Additionally, hieroglyphic graffiti and burials of babies and children were found at the pyramid's base, although these are believed to be from a much later period. In the ancient town of Latara, France, archaeologists have uncovered the oldest known wine press in the country, dating back to 425 BCE. This discovery is significant as it provides the earliest evidence of winemaking in what is now modern-day France. The limestone platform, believed to be a wine press, was found alongside ancient amphoras, large jars used for storing wine. Molecular testing on these amphoras revealed the presence of tartaric acid, a major component of wine, confirming that they once contained this intoxicating beverage. Interestingly, the wine of that era was quite different from what we're accustomed to today. It contained traces of pine resin, likely used for flavoring and preservation, and compounds from herbs, such as rosemary, basil, and thyme. While the residents of Latara initially imported wine, the discovery of the wine press suggests they soon began producing it themselves, possibly using vines imported from Etruria, a region covering parts of modern-day Italy. This find sheds light on the early origins of France's illustrious wine culture long before it gained global prominence. So the next time you sip on a glass of French wine, remember its deep-rooted history that dates back over 2 millennia. Now we have a startling discovery from China. In June 2012, archaeologists in southern China confirmed that they'd found the oldest known pottery in the world. These clay vessels are believed to be 20,000 years old. That means they come from a time about 10,000 years before humans first settled down and began farming the land, and mean that pottery was invented during the last ice age. Prior to this find, the commonly held belief was that the innovation of farming and pottery happened at about the same time. The big question is why gangs of nomadic hunter-gatherers would have had any use for clay pots. The answer is unknown, but there are scorch marks on some of the pots that suggest that they may have been used in cooking. The fragments were discovered in Qianrangdong Cave, which is in China's Jiangxi province. Experts thus far haven't been able to pinpoint how the pots were made, as they don't appear to conform to typical methods for making ceramics. Their presence in the cave might imply that the people who lived here at the time were more advanced than any other humans in China, or perhaps even the whole world. Curry, a dish now synonymous with Southeast Asian cuisine, might have been introduced to the region a whole 2,000 years ago. This revelation comes from scientists who've unearthed the earliest evidence of curry preparation in Occhio, southern Vietnam. By analyzing plant remains from 12 ancient stone grinding tools, they found traces of rice, turmeric, ginger, finger root, sand ginger, galangal, clove, nutmeg, and cinnamon. Dr. Hixiao Chun Hung of the Australian National University, who spearheaded the research, mentioned the variety of spices that had traveled to Occhio, contributing to delightful dishes enjoyed by the people back then. A particularly intriguing find was that nutmeg seeds from the site remained aromatic even after 2 millennia. Starch grains from turmeric and ginger were abundant, showing signs of grinding reminiscent of modern curry powder. These stone tools, excavated between 2017 and 2019, were of South Asian origin, suggesting that curry recipes might have been introduced to Southeast Asia by South Asian migrants or traders. The site, Occhio, is believed to have been a significant port city in the ancient kingdom of Funan. This discovery sheds light on the early spice trades and the global maritime trading networks of the time. In the Mariana Islands, an archaeological discovery has unveiled the world's oldest known octopus lures, dating back to around 1500 BCE. These ancient fishing tools, found throughout the islands, were crafted using cowrie shells, a type of sea snail that octopuses love to munch on. These shells were connected to stone sinkers and hooks with a fiber cord. The discovery was made by Dr. Michael T. Carson, an archaeologist from the University of Guam. Through carbon dating, it was confirmed that these lures, found on the islands of Tiyan and Saipan, are approximately 3,500 years old. Interestingly, these lures might have been in use when people first settled in the Mariana Islands. The question now is whether these ancient Chamorro people, the indigenous inhabitants of the Mariana Islands, invented these lures or brought the tradition from their previous homeland. If they did invent them, it showcases their adaptability and innovation in harnessing available food sources. These findings not only shed light on ancient fishing practices, but also highlight the deep-rooted traditions and the rich history of the Mariana Islands. It turns out that you can tell a lot about a place from the wooden stakes and piles that its ancient occupants drove into the ground. In April 2021, a wooden stake discovery helped to prove that Lucerne in Switzerland was home to a human settlement during the prehistoric era. The stakes once supported pile dwellings in an area that 3,000 years ago would have been the shore of Lake Lucerne. They are now underneath the water and were found during the construction of a new pipeline. We once thought that Lucerne was settled around the beginning of the 10th century. We now know that the first settlement appeared around 2,000 years earlier than that. There isn't much left of the old settlement now, just a few broken pieces of pottery and 30 wooden stakes. But that isn't necessarily surprising. The waters of the lake have risen by almost 20 feet since the 15th century, and were churned extensively when mills were added during the 19th century. So much of what was once here would long since have been washed away. The Pazyryk carpet, the world's oldest known pile carpet, is a testament to ancient craftsmanship and innovation. Discovered in 1947 in the Altai Mountains of today's Kazakhstan, this stunning carpet, dating back to around 400 BCE, has maintained its colors for over 2 millennia. But what's the secret behind its enduring hues? Researchers from Friedrich Alexander Universität Erlangen-Nuremberg found it's all in the fermentation. Before dyeing, the wool was fermented, a process that involved suspending it in sourdough and wheat bran. This technique not only enhanced the wool's dye absorption, but also produced colors that outshine modern methods. The carpet itself, now housed in the Hermitage Museum of St. Petersburg, Russia, is a visual treat. Its design features lotus buds, griffins, deer, and horsemen, suggesting a rich tapestry of cultural influences. Interestingly, its patterns bear a striking resemblance to Persian designs, hinting at ancient trade connections. While the carpet's design and technique are fascinating, its preservation in permafrost is what truly makes it a rare find. This icy embrace has kept it in pristine condition, allowing us to marvel at a piece of history that's over 2,400 years old. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and enjoy watching new videos on my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you soon!